Hey, friends, welcome back to yet another exciting episode. It's your boy, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name, and we are with a Twitter friend, the Scream Queen, a.k.a. Alexa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm
I know
doing
we
really
fought a
well.
little off camera talking about Rennie D, so we won't talk about him too much here because we don't want you to leave in the beginning. So
You know,
that's the
I'm
clip I'll
trying to
put
be
on Twitter
nice.
so everybody gets mad at
I,
me again. So
I'm trying to be nice. Okay, that's
we have a
I told you.
drama-free
Oh,
podcast as well as we like to stay positive, and I am positive that I am a Rennie D fan. So yeah,
okay.
I'm just making up
I,
catchphrases
I,
as I go.
I will just let you do your own thing. My
Perfect,
mama said
perfect,
if you can't say anything nice, don't say nothing at all. So I'll
perfect,
stick with
perfect.
that.
So we're gonna dive into it here. Let's just kind of start with what are some of your earliest wrestling memories?
Well, I would say I was probably about 6 or 7. I
Okay,
remember going over to spend time with my godfather. Um, and it was Sunday morning or Saturday morning. And the first person I saw was Hot Rod. And I
okay,
was hooked ever since then.
very nice, very nice. So is that like a weekly thing, monthly thing that you got to go over there, or was he pretty close that you could watch it periodically?
Well, I'm originally from New Jersey.
Okay,
I'm currently in parts unknown.
okay. No need to
So
disclose that. So we don't
so
want
we would
creepers here.
yeah, no, I'm always traveling, so when I can. But I would say, yeah, I would go back to New Jersey about every 2 years. So every summer we'd spend
Hmm.
about a month or two out in New
Okay,
Jersey.
very nice. Yeah, I was lucky and fortunate to watch it at my grandparents' house. Once I discovered it, everybody can rewatch those episodes. But Grandma hated it, so I had to learn the channel recall, real quick to go to something else. Usually, I would have it set on the TV guide, which used to scroll kids, so you could find out what was on TV. Um, and we always seemed to go out there on Mondays, which was perfect. So thanks, Mom. Look what you created, this silly universe of mine. Now I'm stuck being friends with Loopy, but gotta bury him. Um, so it's kind of fun. My grandpa was into it, grandma not so much. I had uncles that were into it, so I have to thank them as well. But it's crazy to think that I used to just think that it was a video game, and then there was action figures, and then seeing it on TV. So
I would say one of my earliest in-person memories. I had a really good friend. Her dad worked for food and beverage at Harris
okay,
Casino.
okay,
And I remember he was like, "Oh yeah, we got tickets for the show. It's wrestling. Why don't we go?" It was a free thing. Might as well. The girls
hmm,
can go do something. I was
yep,
fairly young. I was still probably 7 or 8. So that was the first time that I had gotten introduced to like in person wrestling,
hmm,
and uh, I was very scared. I'm not gonna lie, I
hmm,
was scared. But I made really good friends with a heel. He kept on saying, to my dad. My dad took me, and he was kept on saying to my dad, "Oh, she reminds me of my daughter." And the guy had been on the road, and
hmm.
it had been a while. So and we were talking, and he actually had a hardcore fight that night with trash cans, the whole
Oh
nine
wow,
yards. And I started bawling,
oh boy,
like crying, like my friend's getting hurt. Oh no.
hmm,
And, so the guy kind of came back afterwards and he's like, meet my friend, he didn't hurt me. I'm okay.
hmm,
We were just play fighting. So that was one of my fondest memories. My parents always supported me with whatever it was, whether it was
hmm.
wrestling or music. When I was younger and I couldn't drive, they would come with me to
Okay,
shows,
very
and they
nice.
would sit in the back and enjoy it as well. But I think they had more fun watching me get excited
Hmm.
compared to oh, we're sitting at this wrestling show, oh my gosh, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and that's great. What I've been hearing usually is I think you're one of the first people that say like mom and dad supported it. My dad still gives me a hard time to this day. I was telling him I was going to a wrestling show. We were heading to Chicago. And he's just like, I don't know why you watch that crap. You just spend so much money on it. You can give me that money. And to embarrass my father, who's not very fond of me just screaming random things, and I just yelled, Dad, I like to see people wrestle in their underwear. What can I do? And he's just like, shut up. We're at the restaurant, So, he was big into the racing scene. So, like, a lot of people know him through that. I was always associated as his nickname, which was Bulldog growing up, as Bulldog Jr., and I kind of hated that because I wanted to be my own person. And now it's kind of funny that I'm known in the wrestling scene. Yes, Randy, I'm going to pump my own ego here. I used to be the sign guy at the local promotion. Me and Ken Anderson had a little rivalry. He just doesn't like, poster board for some reason. I don't understand why. My signs were very nice. They weren't. But so like people would be like, you're the guy with the signs all the time. That's kind of how I met my buddy Robert. Shout out to him because I'd always have some weird, wacky sign just to get attention. One of my favorite classic ones, kids, if you're listening, to get ripped up is just write "Who are you" on it, and they get offended by that because they feel they should be known. And shout out to little Nate for destroying my whiteboard at a show because I was like, I've got to get more creative. I need a whiteboard so then I can do even more signs. Yeah, I'm kind of a jerk in the wrestling scene with signs, but
yeah, I've noticed a lot of people don't like paper and they don't like whiteboards for some reason.
Yeah, it's like they have a lot in common with Rennie D. They just one thing people hate. So
yeah, for some reason I don't get it.
Yeah, he's never ripped up one of my signs, so I mean, I don't know what's going on. That's kind of a dying thing. We just went to a few shows this weekend. And I always shout out my friends here. Bob was just like, "What's missing?" And I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Don't overthink it. What's missing?" He's like, "Signs." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. Usually that's me up front at this particular promotion with a sign to get some attention on me." So you don't see it too much. I wish I made a little table for kids at the show before that, and they loved it. They're holding up their signs with "Boo" and "So and so stinks," and it's I feel it's a way to get a part of the show. I haven't grown out of it yet, so
yeah, no, I that's what I totally got. I noticed it too, even in Omaha, for instance. I've noticed there's always maybe one or two people that may have it's now turned into whiteboards because they've learned, somebody might take it and somebody might use it. So
that and it's just like you think of something on the fly and you're like, oh, and I used to bring blank ones. And I always carry Sharpies, because usually if they're signing stuff at ringside or something, just to have it ready because you never know. But I'd always have a Sharpie, and I'd just be sitting there, and everybody's like, "What do you got this time?" And I was just like, "Wait for it," And I like to be very vocal at shows too. I'm not on the extent of like a loopy at a first wrestling show, but I like to think I'm pretty creative and funny, so.
I have my moments myself. So I'm very loud and vocal myself. I would say I'm not to shame somebody's gimmick, but the loudmouth mercenary, I am very much louder than he is. So I just always got a giggle out of that for the longest time. Going to wrestling shows, it's been 17, 18 years of me going, and everybody that I'm friends with knows when I'm there because they're like, I heard you all the way backstage. I knew you were here. I was like, good. Then we're on the same page. So,
that's the New Jersey in you there.
Oh yeah, you gotta be loud. You gotta be loud.
And I always say to touch on that, like Darren just released a photo. By the way, sponsor everyone, friends of the Squared Circle here, Darren Corbin. He's just standing in the ring, looking down, and you can see that shit-eating grin on his face. And I even said, like, if you can't hear this photo, you're not a Darren Corbin fan. And I won't show off the edit because it's somebody else's work. It's for my private collection. But I basically just put "F.U. Corbin" everywhere in different fonts because I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of him standing there, soaking it all in. And embracing that hate. He's one of the best that does it, definitely in first wrestling. anywhere else he goes, people just hate him, and there's that small section, me included, that just love him.
Yep. Yep. I definitely, I remember when he used to be a good guy,
Hmm.
and let me tell you, he, seeing a heel and how loud he really is now, it's
Yep.
way different from when he started. But
Yep.
he's always maintained that to see him hated is great. But he was very good when he was loved as well. So
Yeah, I know he used to do like the colorful pants, the belt that was like strolling. That was kind of a big thing, popular there.
yeah.
I'll have to get him back on another episode when he's not so busy getting championships and wins. Um, just saying that smugly. But like he went for a little period there where he was just wearing the black pants, and I was like, oh, just doesn't feel the same. And then he brought back the colorful pants. That was just one thing that always, stuck out for me when I would watch Darren was, the creative patterns that he would just put together, like polka dots and plaid, or, stripes and squares, like it was just like,
Mhm.
what are you doing? But it works. So,
Yeah, he was definitely the loudest clothing wise, I
hmm.
remember. But when he was in North Star Express,
Yep.
they were a phenomenal team.
Hmm.
And to see where Corbin is now, he's grown and evolved,
Yep.
and it's phenomenal. Same with Cannon.
Yes.
Cannon, I've known for a very long time as well. I mean, I miss the days where his mohawk was,
Right.
way higher than he was, but
Hmm.
height wise,
And
and
those parachute pants.
oh, the parachute
Sorry,
pants,
Cannon.
man. You know, they're coming back though, so who knows?
Hopefully they don't for him. I'm sorry.
Oh, why you gotta be so mean?
I mean, he's number two in my book of it's I have a pecking order. It's Darren, Cannon, and then it kind of fluctuates at the bottom there. And if Darren and Eric are wrestling, I always pull for Darren. And if they're not, then it's usually Eric that I'm cheering for in each match. So.
Yeah, that's what I love about wrestling
Hmm.
is, you have so many incredible like talents in wrestling
Yep.
that even outside of the ring, you become friends with them, but you
Hmm.
never know who to cheer for when
Right.
they're going against each
Right.
other. You're just like, what do I do? So
Hmm.
yeah, Minnesota, I always joke, I used to call them the Minnesota boys because when they would come out here for PWP or Magnum Pro,
Okay.
they were referred to as the Minnesota boys. And so you knew it was going to be, everybody's going to be laughing.
Yep.
Everybody was going to be loud, having a good time. And, it was always a good time when they came through. They haven't been down this way in quite some time. And I hope soon they come down this way. You know, fingers crossed
Yep. You hear that,
because,
Darren? You hear that, Eric? I know you guys are listening. I hope. Get down there. She misses you.
you know,
You know.
yeah, well, I go up to first. I'll go up to
Okay.
first. I don't mind. I don't mind traveling. I don't
Yeah.
mind,
Sure.
when you become friends with people, you always support what they're doing. And that's the
Exactly.
type
Yep.
of person that I am. Um, when you're friends with people, you will always, always support them in any way you can.
Hmm.
So that's just me. But
Yep, and I know
first,
you're on the Tik or not, excuse me, not the TikTok. We're friends on there too. On the Twitter, you see that side of me more. I don't know if you're following the Facebook page. No big deal if you're not. But
oh
that's
yeah.
what I like to do on Wednesdays is share off the friends. So like I'll promote Darren, I'll promote First, I'll promote the other wrestling companies, or people that also have podcasts. Like shout out to our boys. We got to give them a little plug here. Wrestling from the 313. He's just getting back into it. He was nice enough to come on my show when I was just starting out. So now it's like I'm pulling those people with me because I want to see my friends, pun intended, or, gimmick or whatever it is that I say. I want to see them succeed too. I want everybody
Mhm.
to get a piece of the pie. I'm not Logan Paul, I have 15 million people and I'm following one person. No, I'm gonna help them get to where they need. Mike can relate to this is because if he needs anything, I'm just like, ask and I'll pass the knowledge to you because
Mhm.
this isn't some secret organization where I'm not going to help anybody,
Yep.
and any chance I can get to show some love, I'm going to, and I told you off camera, I'm getting certain numbers, such a boom. And it's just been great. And now it's time to give back because I'm starting to grow, and then hopefully they can ride that wave with me. So,
I've always been the type of person that I rather see my friends do really, really good, and I will always push every
yep.
single, whether it's wrestling or music. I'll push anybody that I'm very close with friendship wise. I will push them because I want to see them do, you know, so good with
Mhm.
whatever their dream is. So that's why I always push my friends more than I push myself.
Yeah. And that's the same with me. Like, I give a lot, and people always say, well, you don't take much back. I'm like, I know, but, that's just my personality. And I know we're making the jokes about Rennie D, but watching him go from where he was to, his wife, the three babies, to Fit Butters now, going to be rolling out in Walmart. That's huge. And I even told him, like, dude, I am so proud of you, and I'm so excited that I get to watch the growth. All jokes aside, he's a good dude. Not going to put that out there for him, but he's been very, very,
He's
very
very
nice in
mean.
supporting with
He's
me with
very
this.
mean.
Yeah. So I mean, and everybody
Corbin's
even
mean
tweeted it
too.
out when he announced it, like, yeah, the things he say on Twitter, blah blah blah. But we're happy for you on that aspect of it, and we are. Same with Darren. WrestlePalooza champion there. Spoiler: this will come out a few weeks after everything has happened. I talked to Devon Monroe this past week, and I was like, normally, I'm a Darren Corbin guy, 100%, but there's nobody else that I would want to see beat him, and I am so proud of you. I know that doesn't mean a lot coming from me, but Abby and I always say it. That's our champion, Devon Monroe. We fangirl out about him all the time.
But I
He's
think
yep.
I think we all felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
He, I've never seen so much talent in a person,
Mm-hmm.
and just somebody who's so kind and genuine of
Yes.
who they are,
Yes.
and that is a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I very much support Corbin, but at the same time,
Yep.
I'm very happy for
Mm-hmm.
I'm the new change
Yep.
because I think it's
Normally, I
gonna
would
go.
be booing him out of the building, because he beat Darren, but you can't be nothing but happy for the guy. And we talk
Yeah,
about him all the time. I'm still, schmoozing him over. So hopefully, when he's not so busy as the new WrestlePalooza champion, he's able to come on, tell his story because it's a beautiful one that needs to be heard. Shout out to Abby. She wrote a great article about him on her thing. It's just so amazing to see where he started to where he is now. They just announced they're going back to the Mall of America,
yep.
and for him to be the guy walking in with the company on his back, couldn't be more excited for him.
Oh, I'm excited for him, but I'm also nervous for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of weight,
Yep.
and not saying that he can't handle it,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
I'm excited for to the Mall of America myself because I've been told, and I don't know this for a fact because this will be my first one, but I've been told it's a very surreal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. And,
Yep.
our champ is here. So here we go.
Yep.
We're all going to be dancing and twerking and having a good
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yep. And I just love when he comes out, he's doing that thing, and then he just looks over his shoulder like, I got this, that confidence. Those matches with Sonny Kiss that he's had,
Phenomenal.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about how fun they were, how excited First Wrestling and the First Wrestling fans were. I mean, just puts on great matches. He just wrestled Fandango, another great match. And it was, everybody was just enjoying the ride, so,
Mm-hmm.
and, hopefully Nerdy gets to open while you're there. That he just got the crowd electric. They had people standing in the rotunda, like 3-4 rows up or floors up, not rows, and you could hear them just coming down, and it was very surreal and very fun. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
won't be able to go because but it's
That's how I
it's
felt about Palooza. And I mean, like, I was very, very upset, but I needed to get the surgery done. But,
mhm,
but seeing the updates and everything like
yep,
that, I was, I felt like I was there. So I'm very grateful that I'm friends with all of you so I could see
mhm,
all those updates of
yep,
what was going on.
yep,
I did cry a little, but it's okay. We got to take the L. We can't win them all. So
yep.
it's all right.
Yeah, and to put over Darren too when he beat Davari, I don't think my wife Randy take a shot. That's an inside joke. I don't think I've been on a roller coaster ride where I literally have felt so many emotions. I was sweating, I was nervous, I was happy, I was mad, and then those, multiple close calls. Like it was, and then after, like I marched over there and gave the man a hug, and I was like, dude, like that was amazing. And I just saw the Facebook status that I had a year ago that said, "This is the best day in wrestling, not just for me." And like everybody that knew didn't spoil it, was just like, "Holy shit, it finally happened." Everybody's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to put it out
You,
there till they did, So yeah, I love Darren.
yeah.
So
Yeah, because I was gonna say I've had a couple matches that I've seen in real life that
mhm.
are like that as well. I will put over my dear good friend who is no longer here, Jason Strife,
Oh, yep.
aka Yellow Dog. Um, if you're a
R.I.P.
first fan, you may
Yep.
know him as Yellow Dog. Uh, I would say watching him against AJ Styles
Oh, okay.
was that same exact feeling of the emotional roller coaster because you got two high flyers hitting the top of the ring. You're
Mhm.
like, oh God, like it was just that surreal experience to watch, this huge name of AJ Styles,
Mhm.
who you watch on TV, who you've seen, and one of your good friends who was multi-talented in his
Mhm.
own, uh, was just one of the greatest things. So yeah, I would say that was, you know, Yellow Dog. Even though he's not here, I know that he would be very proud of what First is doing.
Mhm.
I can only imagine he would want to be right there.
Yeah, that's the persona that I knew him more as. I didn't
Yeah.
know him more as the you know other one that he went with. I just yeah, I can just see it now with him and Wildcat, Thunder Frog.
Oh,
And
they would have had
hmm
so much fun. So much fun.
especially if he
I don't.
tagged with Kara down there. I jokingly told her she needs to start a stable with all the barnyard friends. So if
Oh
she does make that, I kind of want a
yeah.
high five for that cool name. Kara and the barnyard friends. But you know that definitely he will be missed down there for sure. Running around on all fours,
Oh
pissing on the ring post, never
yeah.
gets old. So
Yeah, I was gonna say when he would go to the bathroom on the
hmm
referees, or he
hmm
would hump a referee, or was always the
yep.
most hysterical thing you'd ever see.
Or they throw his
You know,
bone and
oh yeah, his bone. If they threw a ball, he was distracted.
yep.
He definitely was a
Too
dog.
funny. Too funny. Thanks for the memories, sir. Thank you. But back to you. Is there? Are you into WWE, AEW? Is there a promotion that you prefer, or are you like an indie stance, kind of like myself?
I I do prefer one over the other.
Okay.
I do prefer AEW
Okay.
over WWE. That's been me for a long time.
Okay.
I would say one of my top favorite wrestlers is John Moxley.
Okay.
So I have been following him since he was in the Indies.
With the big hair. Yep.
So when he when he switched, when he went from Dean Ambrose, and I was like, what's going on here? And he left,
hmm
kind of thing, just wrote out the contract, peace out.
Yep.
And I knew something was wrong. Something was wrong. And so, then you start hearing the stories about from talent and so much. Um, and then as soon as AEW came up to be, and Cody, and the Bucks, and Kenny, I was in. You know, every time that I watch AEW, I get that same excited feeling that I got when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I do go to a lot of indies. I know that there's one show actually this Saturday. If you haven't heard of Wrestling Revolver, which is with Sammy Callahan and all
Scares
those
the shit
guys.
out of me. Yep, yep, yep.
I love Sammy. He was another one. Obviously, being a Mox fan, who
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Callahan is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, getting to. I don't know if their home base is Iowa or if it's Ohio. Pretty sure it's Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But those shows are a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. Then it was
Because I was
the
gonna say
OVE or something. I
when I
think it
got to
was.
meet Mox.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hold on.
We got strangers in the lurks. The most people I've had on a podcast at one time. I can do some filler here.
I was like, for some reason, you started breaking up all of a sudden.
Oh, gotcha. I thought
like,
you were
wait,
waiting for
hold
me to
on.
talk. So, yep, yep.
No. You started breaking up for a second. I was like, what's happening? Okay.
But back to Mox.
It's the
Go ahead.
government. Yeah, when as soon as because you idolize people, and I know that this happens a lot of times when you follow somebody for so long that you're kind of like, you get nervous to meet somebody that you don't want to, like, maybe you don't want to meet them kind of thing. When he went to Revolver this was the second time, second time of getting to see him live in person, in a while. So it was surreal to actually like talk to him and see how he's doing and how he's progressed and how he's growing and evolving as a human being. Is great. And to watch AEW now, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely. I know, like, the thing that kind of is going on right now is we got the WWE versus the AEW fans. I make my comments here and there, but I'm not one to just like bog down on the other. I just feel if something's dumb, it's dumb. But unfortunately, me again, I'm an indie guy. I like the indies a little bit more than most. I do like WWE over AEW, and that's because I don't really get to see AEW. If they do put it on a streaming service, I will go back and watch. But the only reason I do watch is if like Kara or Eric are doing on Dark, I will watch those matches. Also, like Top Flight, out of First, we always talk about them here. I'm always watching what they're doing because I want to see them succeed too, because I've seen them from the small towns to the big stage. So, the future is bright for those boys. They better put their shades on. Maybe they will go to WWE. If they don't, that's fine. Now, the time for wrestling is booming. There's places to go. They could go to Japan. And by the time they get to their 30s, then they could do WWE. I mean, they're still young. The world is at their fingertips. Sky Blue, Blair Onyx, Kara, there's so many names like that. Wrestling is just exciting now. So,
yeah, I would say over the last couple of years, I have seen a huge dramatic turn in wrestling, and it's a lot of fun to be along for the ride. I've always been a wrestling fan, like I said, since I was a little girl, which it was not cool when I was, especially being a girl, it was not cool to be a wrestling fan. So now all of a sudden to see the boom in women's wrestling and, all these companies are supporting women in different ways, whether it be in front of the camera or behind the scenes, which is phenomenal to watch.
And it's nice to see that now the women referees are getting more shine, as well as the commentators. I was excited when Beth Phoenix went to NXT. I was hoping they'd kind of keep her there more, but then she started getting involved more with the wrestling side of it. And I hope one day they give us the payoff of Beth Phoenix versus Rhea Ripley. That's just me. But yeah, women in wrestling, some of their matches are better than the men. Some of their promos are better than the men. They are phenomenal. Are you a fan of intergender? Oops, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was never, women's wrestling, especially being a female, was always the
Hmm.
biggest thing to me. Um, I would say there was somebody I met who was like my favorite, was Lita.
Okay.
And I loved Lita because Lita would hang out with the boys, but she would also kick the boys' butts.
Yep.
So, it was definitely, um, it's to see where, from back then to where we are now, it's definitely changed.
Hmm.
Um, I love that the costumes have changed. Everybody's getting more, you get to see their, like, especially in AEW, you get to see more of their personality in their clothing, where it used to be,
Yep.
strictly you could only wear this, this, and this type
Hmm.
of gear.
Yep.
Especially with the guys too, that you're starting to see personalities emerge more.
Yep. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, from the days of the
with
trunks to the pants, now you got people in cargo shorts. John Cena, got to throw it out there. You got Darby Allin. You've got, the, guys with the kick pads and the more MMA style shorts. And, like you said, shout out to Ego Drip. They do a podcast on wrestling fashion. And, like, that's the great thing about wrestling is there's so many podcasts as well, but everybody's got a different
oh
podcast.
yeah.
Me, we talk with the
Hmm.
fans. Ego Drip, they talk about clothing. I believe there's a guy out there who does wrestling entrances and music. And then we have Fave Cruise. They talk about the Jericho Cruise and that experience. And again, back to 313. He's just starting out and he's starting to talk about different things that other people are talking about. So there's just so much that wrestling gives besides just the drama in the ring.
Hmm. Because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't know about as
Hmm.
well,
Yep.
that people put in, and people don't realize what happens behind the scenes.
Yep.
So that's normally where I've always hung out, like, hung out, understood more of the behind the scenes stuff.
Hmm.
I've never wanted to be, spotlight on me kind of person, because
Gotcha.
I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, now
I
you're a superstar. You're on Friends of the Squared Circle, so everybody's gonna know that you associate with me, especially on Twitter. And then you're gonna have to defend yourself and be like, he's an okay guy, but just watch the episode. So
Well, I was gonna say you're an okay guy, but we question who you like sometimes.
I'm weird.
Just
Like
just
growing,
one.
yeah, like growing up, Goldust was my favorite wrestler. So he wasn't the one that everybody else was, rooting for. Same with Mankind. I kind of like the weirder characters. Just like when it came to
Oh
sports,
yeah,
my
that,
family was a diehard Packer fans. I had to pick something different because I wanted to be different. And I like to say that normal is dead, and it's okay not to be normal. So,
yeah,
but yeah.
absolutely. I'm 100% behind that. And I would say, so like my past weekend, I know that you were talking about your shows,
Mhm.
that you had gone to.
Yep.
Here, I know that Omaha had, what is called Mid Death Pro.
Okay.
And if you're into the hardcore stuff, and I mean hardcore stuff, I would say definitely check them out, because that's a hell of a time. You mentioned Mankind, and
Mhm.
that's he was
Yep.
definitely one of my favorite wrestlers as well.
Okay.
To
Gotcha.
meet
Gotcha.
to meet Mick Foley was like,
Hmm.
my mind was blown. Um, so yeah, the hardcore is definitely not for everybody. I know some people
Hmm.
don't like, like that kind of style. But if you ever are looking for them, I know that they're kind of traveling a little bit more. Maybe they'll be up towards Minnesota. Who knows?
Very nice.
But Mid Death Pro is definitely cool, because you never, you, you hear it's kind of talked about.
Hmm.
Like being an indie fan, like, oh, there's kind of like this bottom of the barrel kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of like Fight Club kind of thing, and you're
Gotcha.
like, you've heard about these death matches,
Hmm.
and you hear about how insane they are, and like I've seen plenty of them, like especially Japan's full of them, so you're like, I want to see that in real life.
Hmm.
So it's nice to actually, like, my weekend was, so I got to see that and have
Very nice.
a very different indie experience,
Hmm.
so it's definitely fun.
Yeah, and that's the
So
other
I
thing with
gotta,
wrestling
shout
too
out
is
Mid Death.
yeah, I'm gonna have to check them out, give them a like, and maybe we can get some of them on as well. Um, like wrestling is for everyone. I mean, like we have the comedy, we have the strong style, which I've got into because of Ilya Dragunov, with his chops. Now I want to kind of watch more of him and Walter have battles. You got the comedic stuff, like we said, Yellow Dog, Thunder Frog. You've got the serious submission matches, your Daniel Bryans, your Bret Harts. You've got your basic wrestling with, like the Rocks and the Stone Colds, but wrestling's for everyone. There's so many different types that there's something for everyone. And that's what I like about First is we get those different type of things. We get the serious
Yes.
match. We get the comedy match. We get the hardcore match. I'm squeamish, so like I'm not really into the hardcore match and stuff, but I'll watch it and then I look away and like, oh my goodness. And then shout out to Eric Cannon. Darren's gonna hate me for this. He chopped Darren, and Darren's face was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and I felt it at the table, and I was like, like, and I'm getting goosebumps. Gotta make that into a like catchphrase or something. But like, just those chops are just so brutal. And then for him to chop someone that he works with every single week, it's just gotta be like, get me on the next one, So
I have seen Cannon's chops before.
Mhm.
A lot of times, whether that be the boys joking around or in the ring, but I will say he does leave a handprint.
Yep.
Every time I've seen, it's just been handprints. You're like,
Yep.
how do you explain that to somebody, who may not know that you do this on the
Yep.
side? How do you explain that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I was sleeping wrong.
Yeah. Why is your face so busted up? It's my other job. What's that?
Yeah.
Don't ask.
Yep, I have a very good friend of mine, and he, does wrestling, and he is also a nurse,
Oh,
and
okay.
so yeah, which is very kind of interesting because it's like, what do you say? And he's like, you know what? I had to come clean.
Yep.
I had to come clean of what I do on the weekends because how do I just walk into work Monday morning and be like, I have a bruise here, kind of thing.
Especially the women wrestlers. I mean, that's got to open a whole different box, and we won't even get into that. So.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's a whole nother box.
Yep. So we're gonna go back to Sami Callihan. I have to give a shout out to his. I believe they're married now. Wife Jessica Havoc. I always loved her because she was different. Just like Natalya. Natalya was more of the submissions and ground and pound wrestling. But for Jessica Havoc, she, not to comment on bodies of a female, but she wasn't the supermodel. She was out there to kick ass. Like she was the one you didn't mess with, and she was kind of in that I don't really know what to call it, but like that post Attitude Era where it was the pretty girls out there that were there just to use their image and look. I'm trying to be respectful and not mess my words up. But when I first saw Jessica Havoc, I'm like, yes, and her and Awesome Kong, I love, absolutely love.
I absolutely love Jessica. I love Jessica. Jessica, she does come. A lot of times she is in Revolver. So I have been lucky enough to get to know her not only just through her Twitch and Patreon and all that stuff, but yeah, that was my whole thing was I to have somebody who has a similar body type to me, was a huge deal because you get tired of seeing the skinny, no offense, but you get tired of seeing that kind of look of what everybody else looks like. And Jessica came in as Havoc. She's Jessica because she's sick now. But
oh yeah, I've seen the new stuff. Yep. Still scary as ever. I love her. Yep.
But to have just she and her personality is just so insane. She's absolutely up there of one of my favorite female wrestlers as well.
And you mentioned on it's not my place as a man to speak on a woman's body. I want to put that out there. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up the words because I say things and it doesn't come out how I intend it, so that's why I'm trying to apologize ahead if I just say something that doesn't sound right. But like, she gave you the impression that anyone can do this. It wasn't just the supermodels with the,
Mhm.
certain figures. She was different. Just like, I'm going to compare the two because it's kind of similar. And again, hopefully this doesn't offend. It's just how I word things. Like, when Kofi Kingston won the world championship, it inspired a whole group of kids to know they could be world champion.
Oh
And
yeah.
just like she's out there showing you don't have to be a certain body. Um, you can be anything, and that's
But
what I like about Darby Allin a little
yeah,
bit, is because he's just a young guy who's probably maybe $150, and he's out there wrestling the big macho guys like Warlow and trying to think of it, Powerhouse Hobbs. Is that it? Like the muscle guys.
yeah.
And that's what I grew up with, the Hulk
Mhm.
Hogan's and those guys. Those were the guys to emulate. You wanted the muscles, but now it's just like anybody can be a wrestler. And that's the most beautiful thing, is that we're seeing all these different, again, body types. I don't want to keep using that as a term, but it's inspirational to other people. And that's what I like. It's,
That's yeah,
you
that's where to see the dawn of everybody
know,
and I'll sorry, first I'm going to say everybody is, their own person now.
hmm
And it's nice to see people that are represented as, bigger or smaller
yep.
or, in the middle, but to also see their personalities in different ways too, where it's not just a heel is wearing dark clothes
hmm
and, and then to have, your baby faces, maybe your good guys might also, be into a punk style. And
Yep.
it's dirt like to see Darby Allin, who was a skater and he loves his skateboard. He loves
Yep.
it. He absolutely loves skateboarding and doing all these crazy things and he's never lost that. And that's incredible to
hmm
see him, every time I watch him wrestle, it's like, oh no, oh please, like cuz you're watching, it's almost like watching somebody do these death defying stunts and you're just
Yep.
in the room and you're like, what do you do? Because it's everybody brings something to the table now
hmm
and it's like everybody is welcome now and
Yep.
it's especially with people's sexual orientations are now
Yes,
being
that
allowed
too.
to
Yes,
be
Devon.
open.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sonny Kiss. I mean, like,
To
I don't even
finally,
look at that as part of their character. I look at
nope.
them as a person who
Mhm.
is a phenomenal wrestler.
Right.
And when I show off Devon Monroe to my friends, um, they're just like, okay, and then when they see him, they're like, holy cow, he can go. And I was like, yeah, that's why he's so great. And then when you meet him, he's just
Right.
so nice. And I was fangirling. Here I go again. I was fangirling out because I gave him a custom tumbler this past weekend, and I was like, I need to go back to my table. I need to breathe, And he's just like, thank you, thank you. And I'm just like, okay, I got to go before I make a fool out of myself. So it's so
Yeah,
great
and
to
it's
see everybody get a chance.
right, and it not especially with sexual orientations and it not
Mm.
be a joke anymore,
Yep.
which was my big thing and that
hmm
I always was annoyed with. It was always seemed like you would, it was a joke. And it was
hmm
like, no, that's how somebody is. Like,
Yep.
stop trying to make light of it when it's the
hmm
truth. So I think wrestling has come a long, long way from what it was to where it is now. And I mean, I don't know if you've gotten into like the documentaries of more of behind the scenes of how things like, the after dark shows, and
Yeah, I've
it's
been
very
watching those. Yep, and I read a lot of biographies. Wrong way for the camera here. That's one of my favorite things to read because it gives me an inside look of what's going on. Like I always say, my favorite superstars dealing with their demons, and it's just like I would have never guessed that William Regal had addiction to alcohol, or
right.
how Daniel Bryan, was dealing with different things, and I mean, the list goes on. I mean, and this is where I said in previous episodes, and I'll say it again. It's where the Undertaker pissed me off because he says the boys rather play video games than go out to the bar. I don't want to read about my favorite wrestlers dying anymore. because they have a substance abuse problem. I'm happy
Right.
they're in the background or the backstage playing video games and not going out getting drunk, taking pills, or
Right.
um,
You know,
fighting their demons
doing
alone. They're playing video games.
yeah.
They're happy. They know they have a support system. I'm getting riled up.
No,
But
well,
it's
and I was gonna
so
say
great
that
because they're
that's the
doing it the
nice thing
right way.
too,
You know.
is in the world we live in now too,
Mhm.
it's more acceptable to talk about your
Yep.
mental health issues, to be talking about
Yep.
your addiction issues. And a lot of wrestlers are not afraid to talk about that
Yep.
anymore.
Yep.
Of, hey, I suffer with anxiety and depression,
Mhm.
and sometimes I turn to alcohol. And, to hear people actually
Yep.
say a story, realize that, hey, their character might be this
Mhm.
way, but they're actually like this.
Yep.
And I always explain that to my friends when we come to shows or anything like that, like, hey, they may not be like that in real life. They might be a jerk right now, but they're not like that
Mhm.
necessarily. Not all of them, but some of them are jerkish. But we won't name names.
Randy D.
Randy.
Just kidding.
Um,
Just kidding.
um, but that's what I love about the culture of
Mhm.
wrestling. And we're all what I love about wrestling fans is you notice that, like, somebody always will hold one wrestler close to their heart,
Yep.
and they will always be cheering for him even though they're booing for them. you know um but wrestling fans may give each other crap,
Mhm.
and I've seen that a lot, of who they like and who they don't like, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, we all come together for one
Yep.
thing, and
Yep.
that's wrestling.
Yep.
And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. Of we've gone so long from
Mhm.
it kind of being like this quiet thing, like,
Yep.
oh, I like wrestling. Oh, you might wear a shirt and somebody, oh, you like wrestling too, like, oh my god, who's your
Mhm.
favorite wrestler? To
Yep.
now it's like everybody sees your shirt and they're like, oh, did you watch the match last night?
Yep.
It's I love it so much, because wrestling is definitely come a long way from, like you were talking earlier, with the veterans of, the people who have passed from the substance abuse, and not it may not even show until later in life, where
Yep.
they're having heart attacks, kidney
Yep.
failure,
Yep.
liver failure, and all that. And then they get brought back up into pop culture. And like, I know, I'm not going to say who the wrestler is, because I know that there's a lot of taboo behind it, and I
Mhm.
understand why. But there was a lot of mental health issues,
Yep.
especially with steroid use, with different things. And you got to remember, people are on the road all the time, so
Yep.
trying to find that balance between real life and work life is very difficult.
Mhm.
And now that, like, you're starting to hear, like, wrestlers are actually taking their families on the road, bringing them
Yep.
with them, is huge, because it was
Yep.
never like that.
Yep.
It was never, it was, oh, I had a good friend, would be like, oh, dad's on the road for the next, couple of months. I won't see him till then, kind of
Yep.
thing.
And it's nice too,
So,
like Becky Lynch, and Seth Rollins have that, like, the personal bus. Even if Becky wasn't a wrestler, she's there, so he has the comfort. He's not going out getting in trouble. And then being infidelity, and then that causing more mental health problems. So it's just, I'm just throwing something at the wall here, but it's something that's preventing other things to happen.
yeah.
I read in this book all the time. A lot of them were womanizers, and then I had a woman back home. And it's just like, wow, and I looked up to you in a sense.
Yep.
But
Yep.
and that's with any
And I
celebrity and any person. We all have faults. We all have bad days, but it does damage a little bit when you read some stuff like that. You're like, okay,
and
so
then sometimes, like, nowadays, and sometimes you don't even know what somebody's relationship might be. So
yep,
it's
yep,
like, it's a little different,
hmm
in that, aspect of, like, yeah, a lot of those guys were, you look back on it, and especially listening to them talk about After Dark and all that
yep,
stuff, they would be talking about, oh, like, here's my wife,
yep,
she's like, oh, I didn't know this was happening. But a lot of times, a lot of them did,
hmm
they knew what was going on.
yeah,
So it's very interesting, now that we're going into this more and more. Like, I know Mox wrote a book,
Yep.
You know, I've seen a lot of wrestlers coming out with their own books,
Right there.
and
Yep.
yeah, so it's been, it's very interesting. But my whole thing is mental health has always been a huge thing.
Yep.
Even with indie wrestlers, mental health, especially with the concussion kind of factor into that, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always say check on your friends, make sure they're okay, because
Mm-hmm.
you never know.
Yep.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle.
And
But
there's
the
so many
wrestlers
other
themselves,
things that come into that too, again, they're out there starving artists trying to make it, and then
always.
they have to listen to the keyboard warriors think they know everything. It's, yeah,
Right. And a
that's
lot
a
of
whole
people
other
don't
issue.
understand, and like you were saying, like anybody can be a wrestler. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say to my friends, because I was not that situation myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to remember that you're, like you said, the starving artist syndrome of you're going to be on the road. You're going to be working for very little. You're not going to
Yep.
be, you're hoping. I always use the term of hot dog and handshake, because you may not be making that much money.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think about that and how much money you want to put into
Yep.
it. And a lot of times, sometimes with bookers, they may cancel at last minute.
Yep.
A lot of different things happen. But I always told my friends, whatever your dream is, I hope it comes true. Whether that be
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, whether that be writing a book, whether that be,
Doing a
doing a
podcast. Yeah. Yep.
podcast, you know, because it's a big world and we all have
Yep.
to find our way in it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad. I'm definitely honored and glad to stumble upon it because I've met amazing friends. I know I use that term a lot, but it's true. Um, some of my coolest friends that I have met are through wrestling. Now I, call you a friend. I've got friends in different states, different areas. So I know if I ever travel to those states, I can just say, hey, what's a good place to eat? Or, hey, you want to go to a wrestling show? I'm coming to, Detroit. Shout out to the 313. I want to get this guy some exposure here. It's just, I have friends all over now, and now I have a friend in the UK, Connor. So it's very humbling knowing that
Yeah.
this is
I
bringing me more friends, more opportunities, and just the love of wrestling. So,
Well, and I was gonna say, with first, like for instance, I drove up there. Just long story short, as I drove up there by myself,
mhm.
and that was my first time ever in Minnesota.
Okay,
So I just knew where the show was going to be and what time it was.
okay,
And I had gotten a hotel. And so I really didn't know that much. But when I was there and I was talking to everybody, and I brought Mini Corbin, who is still pouting about his loss. That's why he's not
you're
here.
the one with
He,
the crochet
yeah, I
Corbin.
have Mini Corbin.
Oh,
Yes,
okay. I thought that
that
was
is
the other
me.
lady that I've been trying to get on the podcast, but now I'm super jealous of you.
Yep. Yep. I
Okay.
have Mini Corbin. He is still
The one on
pouting from
one.
his loss.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now I'm
tried
sad.
taking away his belt. I tried taking away his belt, and you looked into those little beady eyes, and you just couldn't do it. But I just knew where everything was going to be for first,
Mm-hmm.
and so I really didn't know anything. But like I started talking to everybody, and everybody was super nice, super welcoming, super kind, and you didn't get that. Like I always say with wrestling, just being around for so long, there's still a cliquey vibe
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, depending on where you travel to. um, you might get a clicky kind of standoffish of who's that person kind of vibe. Like just like when you
Yep.
would go to a bar and it's like all the regulars are sitting around like who's that, kind of
Yep.
feeling. So when I came up to first and I felt so welcome and so, I only knew my friends that were gonna be there and that was it. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it because all I keep hearing about is first. All I
Yep.
keep hearing about is first. And ever since, like here we have Magnum Pro, which
Mm-hmm.
is Yellow Dog's company.
Okay.
um so thankfully that is still going. And we have, Pro Wrestling Phoenix, which is another here in Omaha kind of thing. And to go to shows like that, it's a little different because I know my surroundings, but to
Mm-hmm.
go, Minnesota, I've never been to Minnesota,
Yep.
and I'm like, all right, I did as much research as I could, and I asked my friends who are from Minnesota, what do I do, and just to get tidbits. Even when I was at the show, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, come to this bar afterwards." To have that, like, nobody knows me kind of feeling, but
Yep.
everybody made me feel so welcome. And, you know, like, getting to know you has been awesome, to meet new friends. And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling, is we all have something in common at the end of the day, because we all talk about how we could all go down the list of weird experiences we've had at wrestling shows, you know, like,
Yep.
you know,
Loopy, you know.
we could all, you know, talk, you know, about the one time that we went to a backyard show and you didn't realize that it was a backyard show, and, you know, kind of thing. So I love it. I love getting to know everybody, and Minnesota has been very nice to me. So, you know, like, I look forward to coming to Mall of America, and I know First is going to be insane.
Yep.
So I will plug that until the cows come home or the peanut butter runs out.
And with that, we did run a little long here. That's great. This is a great conversation. We always like to get everybody back for a part 2, so hopefully you're interested in that. We've had a lot of fun today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If you have any socials or you want people to find you, if not, we'll play that video package. We will get you on with your day, and then we'll keep trucking along here on our end with more interviews that we're doing today. So.
Yeah, you can follow me at Twitter. I'm the Real Scream Queen. Also, I have TikTok, Instagram. I'm on all the socials.
Perfect.
I was gonna say I will plug First. Go follow them. I will also plug Mid-Death. Go check them out.
Yeah, then I'll get those links from you. We'll put them in the comment section on the Facebook when we put it out, as well as we'll put it in the description for you. It feels weird calling you the Scream Queen. So, Alexa, I cannot thank you enough for being a friend of the Squared Circle.
I just try not to have people say my name that much, because I know if you say Alexa, it may set off the Alexa devices. So I am sorry to everybody, but this is my name. I was cooler before the real Alexa came out. Right. So here you go.
So, hey, Alexa, did you have fun? Sorry, I had to.
Yes, I did.
All right. Thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. We're going to play that video package, talk real quick after, and then we will get you on your day. Crander Q out. Hey, friends. Thanks for tuning in to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name. Now let's jump into those sponsors, shall we? Make sure to check out ChefKeithFoods.com for all of your salsa needs. The best made fresh since 2019. Flavors include Ragin' Reaper, Hoppin' Habanero, Groovy Garden, and more. Check out that website today. Also, check out our friends over at Superior Creations for all of your custom tumbler needs. They are on Facebook.com/Superior Creations MN. Also, Darren Corbin, give him a like on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. And another great way to support Darren is by checking out patreon.com/Darren Corbin, where tiers start at just $1. Last but not least, make sure you give us a like and follow on all of our social medias as well. We want to thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. Tune in for more episodes. Also, if you want to get merch for yourself, you can check out friendsofthesquaredcircle.org for all of those needs. And it's your boy, Crander Q. Crander Q out.